Okay, my lovelies. Everybody's like super confused on this stuff, so I'm just gonna make a bunch of videos. But this one's for the SIGFIGs that we were doing, which were sort of confusing the way he was describing them, so I just like rewrote them down, but I'll explain them. So like the first rule is that all non-zero digits are always significant. So that means basically like if you have a number that's like 687 or something. So these are all non-zero, 6, 8, and 7. So the amount of SIGFIGs is 3. They're all significant. If you had like 1, 3, 5, 0, or I guess 0 doesn't work in this case because they're talking about non-zero. 8, 4, 2, 1. Okay, so you got this big number, and all of these numbers, the 1, the 3, the 5, the 8, the 4, the 2, and the 1, those are all significant. It only really gets kind of complicated when you have numbers that are 0. So like any number that doesn't have a 0 in it, is all of the numbers are going to be considered significant, and then the way you figure out how many is just by counting them. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this one has 7 SIGFIGs. This one has 3 SIGFIGs. Okay, so that's how you figure that part out. So then you have the second rule, and it says any zeros. Oops, I forgot an N. Any zeros between two significant figures are significant. Okay, so I kind of like to think about this one as like a sandwich. So like say you have 6006, right? Okay, so like before when they were talking about non-zero digits are always significant, this one's talking about zeros. And zeros are kind of what make things a little more complicated. So when they are between two significant numbers, so remember that all numbers that aren't 0 are always significant. That means that this number, this 6, and this 6 are both significant. And since these two zeros are in between two significant figures, it makes these two zeros significant too. So 7007, right? These two zeros are still significant because it's sandwiched. Like if you had 2 pieces of bread and you didn't have a piece of bread, then you wouldn't really have a sandwich. It's like the same thing. Like your 7 is a piece of bread, your other 7's a piece of bread, and this is whatever the heck you want in your sandwich. So that makes it a sandwich, or SIGFIG. It makes them significant, okay? Or like say you have a number, like I'll go down here. Say you have a number that's like 6, 0, 5, 8, 0, 2. Okay, so now you have 2 zeros in here. Those are significant in this number because you're between 2 non-zeros, which would apply to the first rule that all non-zero digits are always significant. Okay, so that's how. So then, if you were to count them, you'd just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you'd have 6 SIGFIGs for this particular number. Okay, so wait, I gotta erase this because I need more space. Hold on. Okay, then you have your third rule, okay? And then there's like adding and subtracting, which I'll make another video, but this one's for like the basic SIGFIG stuff. So this one's like kind of confusing, but the third one is a final 0 is significant, and if it's before the decimal, it's not significant. So he was like super confusing with this, but I'm just gonna say what he said. So like, for example, like with these numbers, when you have 0.5000 or 0.632000, okay, it says the final 0 is significant. So, I mean, it says final 0. It's talking about these 2 zeros or these 3 zeros, okay? So all these zeros at the end are significant to the answer of whatever you're working on. So 0.500, if you were to count the amount of significant figures, you would count 1, 2, 3. So this has 3 significant figures. If you wanted to count the amount of SIGFIGs in this number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? So this one has 6 significant figures. And the reason why this 0 doesn't count right here is because of the second part of this rule. If it's before the decimal, it's not significant, okay? And also, if it's before like a significant figure, right? So like, here's how I like to envision this part. So these ones might be a little bit more confusing. Okay, so if it's before the decimal, it's not significant. If it's a zero, they're talking about if it's a zero before the decimal, okay, which is like super confusing, but you have that, okay? So like, say you wanted to make a sandwich, okay, you need 2 pieces of bread and like, I don't know, peanut butter and jelly, and then you make your peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This would be like making a sandwich with peanut butter and jelly on both sides and then like bread in the middle, which would be super weird. So these 2 numbers don't make a sandwich, okay? You just have clumps of peanut butter and jelly on your fingers. Therefore, these ones aren't significant. If you were to have 0, 0, 6, 0, 0, like, it's still 6. So, which I know, like, decimals make it more complicated, but you don't have your peanut butter jelly sandwich. You have, like, a weird, like, concoction of something else. So if it's like this, then that means that it's not significant.